Very surprisingly, we find well-preserved colors. When we lift one terracotta warrior, terracotta bodies.
Buried for over 2 millennia, the Terracotta Army was thought to have given up all its secrets. But recently, advanced AI scanned every soldier in ways never attempted before, and what it revealed was nothing like the history books told us. Behind those clay faces lay strange details. Secrets long buried beneath clay and dust that challenges everything we thought we knew about the first emperor's empire. These were not just lifeless statues. They carried mysteries and perhaps warnings from the past. Join us as we uncover shocking revelation about the emperor's underground force. An analysis of the Terracotta Army. For decades, the Terracotta Army had been one of the greatest archaeological wonders of the world.
Is part of this pattern. It is also a pyramid. It has also not been excavated. The Terracotta Army around it has been found.
The Terracotta Army is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Thousands of clay soldiers stood guard in long pits, each one unique, each one holding its own mystery. But even after years of research, experts still felt that much about this army was hidden from human eyes. No matter how much they studied, some secrets remained buried. Then everything shifted when advanced artificial intelligence was brought in. For the first time, archaeologists decided to use a new generation of scanning technology on the Terracotta Army. This was not just an ordinary scan. It was not like the older machines that only gave a flat picture or a rough outline. This AI could read details down to the smallest crack in the clay. It could pick up layers beneath the surface that human eyes had never seen. The AI could even process years of scattered research in seconds, connecting facts that experts had missed for decades. When the project was announced, it caught attention quickly. The scale of the project was massive. Each warrior, each horse, each broken piece of clay had to be recorded. High-powered scanners moved slowly across the statues, sending streams of data to the AI system. What might have taken humans years of study was processed in hours. The machine began building a 3D map of the warriors, one more detailed than anything created before. As the days passed, researchers started to see the first results. They were stunned. The AI showed not just the outer shapes of the soldiers, but layers inside them. It revealed that the clay was not uniform. In some places, it had been pressed by hand. In others, it had been molded with tools. These patterns told stories about how the workers lived, how they rushed to finish such a massive project under the order of the first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. But the real breakthrough was not only in the details of the clay. The AI picked up traces of colors hidden deep inside cracks, places where human eyes saw nothing. For centuries, people thought the army was always dull and brown. But the AI scans proved otherwise. It found evidence that these warriors were once painted in strong, bright shades: red, blue, purple, green. The army had once looked alive, standing like real men in armor, not just clay figures. Tourists had seen the faded statues in museums and photos, but now they could picture what the soldiers looked like when they were first made. It was as if the AI had reached across 2,000 years and pulled the colors back into the present, creating digital reconstructions of what the soldiers might have looked like in their original form. Armor plates showed traces of metallic shine. Belts carried strips of faded red. Tunics once had stripes of green and purple. Even the laces of sandals had been carefully colored. Patterns were also compared across thousands of warriors. Humans had long known that no two faces were the same, but the machine showed exactly how different they were. Each face carried unique features, and some even seemed to match descriptions of people from records of the Qin dynasty. This raised new questions. Were these soldiers modeled after real men? Did workers carve their neighbors, friends, or even themselves into the clay? Still, that was only the beginning. The scans also showed differences between groups of soldiers. The cavalry horses, for example, had hollow spaces inside their bodies that were shaped with unexpected precision. Some experts suggested these hollow parts might have been designed to control how the clay dried, but others wondered if they served symbolic or ritual functions. Even more surprising was the discovery of hidden repairs. The AI could see places where cracks had been patched before the army was buried. Workers had filled these gaps with different clay mixtures, almost invisible to the naked eye. This meant the builders not only rushed to finish, but also took care to ensure no soldier entered the emperor's tomb incomplete. The level of detail showed a sense of duty far beyond ordinary labor. The discovery shocked even the most experienced archaeologists. For years, they had studied these warriors without seeing what the AI revealed in a few weeks. When this news spread, it changed the way people imagined the Terracotta Army. And for the first time, the clay soldiers seemed less like lifeless figures and more like a message sent across centuries, waiting for us to finally hear. The use of AI also raised debates. Some historians argued that machines should not decide how we look at history. They worried that people might trust the computer too much, forgetting that history is not just about data, but also about human memory and culture. Others believed this was exactly the kind of leap archaeology needed. Without artificial intelligence, they claimed, the Army's secrets might have stayed hidden for another 1,000 years. In the end, the breakthrough showed one clear thing. The past could be seen in ways never possible before. Now, the Terracotta Army was no longer just an ancient site. It had become a testing ground for the future of archaeology, where human skill and artificial intelligence worked together. Behind the statues stood the lives of thousands of workers, each leaving a trace, even if they never meant to. Thanks to advanced technology, we can finally see details that have been invisible for over 2,000 years. Strange details and contradictions. When the project reached its next stage, something unusual happened. The machine began to highlight patterns that simply did not make sense. Archaeologists were used to finding fragments and cracks, but these results pointed to stranger truths. The Terracotta Army had always been seen as a symbol of order, discipline, and power. Yet the anomalies the AI uncovered painted a far more complex picture, one that challenged long-held beliefs about the emperor's underground army. The first anomaly appeared in the faces of several soldiers. For years, experts believed the sculptors had used generic models, shaping features that represented entire groups rather than individuals. But the data said otherwise. By mapping thousands of faces, the system identified structures too specific to be coincidence. Cheekbones, jaw lines, even the tilt of an ear seemed to match real human features. Some faces bore marks of lived experience, scars, crooked noses, uneven eyes. This discovery set off heated debate. If the army was made to resemble real men, then who were they? Were they actual soldiers from the Qin dynasty, immortalized in clay? Or were they citizens, prisoners, or workers whose likenesses became part of the emperor's eternal guard? No records from the time mentioned such a practice, but the evidence was hard to ignore. The Terracotta Army might not just be symbolic, it might be personal. Another shock came from the arrangement of the soldiers in the pits. The AI revealed that certain formations did not align with known Qin dynasty military strategies. While many rows appeared perfectly ordered, others showed irregular groupings. Some units had spacing too wide for combat formations. Others stood in angles that would have left them vulnerable if they were real troops. This suggested that the placement was not entirely military. Researchers began to wonder if parts of the army were arranged that way intentionally. What's even stranger were the chemical traces discovered inside some statues. In several warriors, signs of unusual compounds were picked up within the clay. These were not typical minerals from the local soil. Instead, they seemed to include elements not commonly used in pottery at the time. Some experts proposed that these compounds were early forms of preservatives, mixed in to help the statues resist decay. Others suggested they could have been part of ritual practices. mixtures meant to fortify the soldiers spiritually before their journey. The horses revealed even more curious details. While most of them followed a standard design, a small number were built differently. The AI showed that some horse figures carried internal structures more advanced than expected. Hollow sections inside their bodies were reinforced in ways unseen in others. It was almost as if these particular horses had been prototypes, experiments in design that were never repeated. But why create such variations when thousands of standard figures were needed? Perhaps the most puzzling aspect came from a cluster of warriors that seemed unfinished. Their armor lacked detail, and so did their weapons. At first glance, this could have been explained as damage from time. But the AI analysis indicated the work had been abandoned before completion. It was as if the craftsmen had been pulled away mid-task, leaving their soldiers half-formed. This led to speculation about sudden interruptions, political changes, rushed deadlines, or even accidents that forced the workers to stop. The anomalies did not end there. Some pits revealed voids beneath the floor, small gaps that suggested something had once been there and was later removed. Were these hidden caches, lost relics, or secret passages filled in long ago? The scans offered no answers, only hints that the underground site was not as fixed as once believed. The very ground beneath the Terracotta Army might hold traces of rearrangement, alteration, or concealment. Experts struggled to explain these findings. Traditional archaeology had always portrayed the first emperor as a ruler obsessed with order and control. His underground army was seen as a reflection of that vision.
For the past half a century, an ancient army of warriors has been quietly conquering the world. Wherever small battalions of China's famous terracotta warriors are exhibited, they win over a new legion of fans.
Yet the AI's findings painted a more different picture. Soldiers modeled on real men, formations that defied logic, statues mixed with strange chemicals, horses designed in inconsistent ways, and semi-finished warriors buried alongside completed ones. Each observation raised more questions than answers. Was the Emperor's underground world designed with meanings modern people can no longer understand? Or were the irregularities evidence of experiments lost to time? For the team working on the project, the discoveries were both confusing and thrilling. They showed that history was not as simple as textbooks had claimed. They thought we were uncovering perfection, but what they found instead were flaws. And those flaws may be the key to the truth. By the end of the study, it was clear the Terracotta Army was far less uniform than once believed. Beneath its surface of order lay a hidden world of irregularities and mysteries. The advanced scanning technology had not only exposed details, but had also revealed contradictions. And in those contradictions, experts saw the possibility of rewriting everything they thought they knew about Qin Shi Huang's grand vision. But how did the Terracotta Army first come about? The origin: the Terracotta Army. By the year 221 BC, the wars that had torn the land apart were finally over. For the first time in history, all the kingdoms of the land that would one day be called China were brought under one rule. A young king rose above the rest and gave himself a new title. He called himself Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of Qin. He was no longer just a king ruling one state. He became the creator of an empire that would stretch across centuries. But the emperor was not content with victory alone. He wanted to build a new order, one shaped by his vision. He ordered one system of law for every corner of his empire, so that all people would live under the same rules no matter where they came from. He brought in a single form of money, so trade could move more freely across his vast lands. He also demanded that writing be unified. From north to south, from east to west, people would now read and write the same characters. Once he gave an order, it spread out like iron chains across the land. To protect his empire from threats beyond its borders, he commanded the building of great walls. These walls stretched over mountains, rivers, and deserts, standing as barriers against enemies from the north. They were not yet the Great Wall we know today, but they laid the foundation for it. Soldiers were stationed to guard the borders, while strict laws kept order inside. The emperor's rule was unforgiving. Many feared him, many disliked him, but none could resist his authority. Yet, for all his strength, one fear haunted him deeply. He dreaded death. He longed for a way to live forever. He sent ships to search for mythical islands that were said to hold the secret of eternal life. He drank strange potions, hoping they might stop time for him. He forced scholars to study ancient texts and ordered alchemists to create magical elixirs. Nothing worked. His body grew weaker with the years, and his fear of the end grew stronger. This fear shaped his greatest project, his tomb. He dreamed of ruling even after his life had ended. The work on the tomb began as soon as he rose to power. Records tell us that hundreds of thousands of people were forced into the task. Farmers, prisoners, and skilled craftsmen were gathered from every corner of the empire. They dug deep into the earth near what is now Xi'an, cutting out vast underground spaces. The work went on for years, lasting through the emperor's lifetime, and it seemed to many that it would never come to an end. The workers built one chamber after another, shaping a hidden city beneath the soil. Some halls were large enough to hold entire gatherings, while others were made as secret tunnels and storerooms. Legends later claimed that palaces were built underground, with roofs painted to shine like the night sky and walls sparkling with gems. The emperor wanted his tomb to mirror the heavens and the earth, a place where he could rule forever. The cost of this dream was high. Many workers fell from exhaustion as they labored day and night. Some were trapped inside once their tasks were done, sealed in to ensure no one could reveal the secrets of the tomb. Entire groups of artisans and guards are said to have been buried alive, left behind to serve their emperor even after death. The tomb site became not only a place of construction but also a place of pain, holding the lives of countless souls. The scale of the work was staggering. Timber beams were raised to support the underground halls. Stone slabs lined the walls. Bronze and iron tools were used until they broke from constant use. When the tomb neared completion, treasures were carried inside. Gold, jade, and rare jewels were hidden away in chambers. Chariots, weapons, and objects from daily life were lowered into the earth. The emperor wanted everything he enjoyed in life to wait for him in death. No expense was too great, no item too precious to leave behind. Over the years, the tomb grew into an underground kingdom. No outsider ever saw its true size. It stretched like a secret world beneath the ground, known only to the emperor and those forced to build it. When Qin Shi Huang finally passed away in 210 BC, the great tomb was sealed. Stones blocked the entrances, passageways were closed, and the land above was done so that it appeared as ordinary fields and hills. The palace disappeared from view, swallowed by the earth. For more than 2,000 years, the tomb lay untouched. Then, in June 1974, a group of farmers near Xi'an dug into the ground while searching for water. They struck clay fragments that looked like pieces of human figures. At first, they thought it was nothing but broken pottery. But as more pieces came up, the truth was revealed. These were parts of life-size statues, shaped with remarkable detail. What began as a simple discovery soon turned into one of the greatest archaeological finds of the modern world: the Terracotta Army. Thousands of clay warriors crafted to guard the emperor in his afterlife were unearthed. Together, they formed a vast army frozen in time. They stood as a reflection of the emperor's dream, built to watch over him forever, hidden in the earth until the day they were uncovered. Qin Shi Huang's hidden empire. Recently, the Terracotta Army had already revealed more than anyone expected. The AI scans uncovered details, irregularities, and mysteries that challenged everything known about the first emperor's vast project. But then came something even more surprising. As millions of data points were being processed, it began to map areas beyond the visible pits. These signals hinted at a far larger and stranger underground world than archaeologists had ever imagined. For decades, the emperor's actual tomb had remained untouched. Ancient records warned of rivers of mercury flowing inside, and experts feared that opening the tomb might destroy priceless artifacts or even expose dangerous substances. Because of this, the main burial chamber was left sealed. The Terracotta Army was studied, but the core of the underground city remained hidden. However, advanced technology changed that. Without digging, the scan could read density differences underground, tracing patterns invisible to the human eye. What the machine found stunned the research team. Underneath and around the soldiers, the AI detected networks that looked like tunnels and sealed chambers. Some were small, running between the pits like hidden passages. Others were much larger, deep beneath the surface, hinting at vaults that may still contain artifacts untouched for over 2,000 years. The discoveries led to bold new theories. Perhaps the Terracotta Army was not just a guard force standing alone. Perhaps it was only the outer ring of a much larger complex, a city for the dead, built to mirror the emperor's empire above ground. The soldiers could have been posted at the edges, like sentries on walls, while deeper chambers held treasures, maps, or even ritual halls meant to serve the emperor in the afterlife. The AI also noticed unusual patterns in the soil composition around certain areas. These patterns suggested that parts of the site had been deliberately reinforced, as if walls or vaults had been built to keep something safe. This led some experts to propose that the emperor may have hidden far more underground than previously thought. If true, entire sections of the necropolis remain unexplored, still locked away behind thick barriers of earth and clay. Another surprising finding came from a large, irregular cavity detected not far from the known pits. Its shape did not match natural erosion. Instead, it looked deliberate, as if carved out for a specific purpose. Some historians speculated it could be a symbolic lake or river chamber, built to echo the geography of the empire. Others suggested it might be a vault of supplies, grain, weapons, or tools buried to serve the emperor in the afterlife. The maps gave scholars their first real look at what might lie beyond the army. For centuries, rumors and ancient writings had spoken of wonders inside the tomb. Models of palaces, rare treasures, even flowing rivers of liquid metal. Many dismissed these as exaggerations, but with the scans showing chambers and weird cavities, the possibility suddenly felt real. This raised a difficult question. Should archaeologists attempt to open these hidden areas? Some argued that the information alone was enough. The maps could give insight without disturbing the fragile underground structures. Others pushed for careful excavation, saying the chance to uncover intact relics was too important to ignore. The debate grew heated, balancing the risks of damage against the value of discovery. The theories grew bolder as more data came in. One researcher suggested that the Terracotta Army may not have been the final line of defense. Instead, it may have been designed as a decoy, a grand display to distract looters from the true treasures buried deeper inside. If so, the emperor's tomb might still hold another line of defense guarding artifacts far beyond anything yet seen, waiting untouched in the sealed heart of the necropolis. Another theory proposed that the hidden tunnels were not for storage, but for ritual. They may have been used by priests or workers who performed ceremonies as the army was buried. The presence of sealed passageways could point to traditions long forgotten, connecting the emperor's resting place with spiritual practices we no longer understand. The most daring theory came from the combination of soil anomalies and chemical traces detected underground. Some readings hinted at high levels of mercury beneath certain chambers. This matched ancient texts that described rivers of flowing metal built to surround the emperor's tomb. If true, then the warnings passed down for centuries were not myths. They were accurate records of an engineering feat unlike anything else in ancient history. The AI had not broken into the tomb or disturbed a single artifact, but it had done something equally powerful. It had given archaeologists a new map, a guide to what might still be waiting below. Every unusual detail, every cavity, every sealed wall hinted that the necropolis was more than just a burial site. It was a universe of its own, designed to carry Qin Shi Huang's rule into eternity. At the end, one thing was clear: the Terracotta Army was only the beginning. The soldiers were the guardians, the outer edge of a mystery that stretched far deeper. What lay beyond them, the hidden chambers, the secret vaults, the rivers of metal, could change history forever if they were ever uncovered. Ai had given us a glimpse of that hidden world. Whether humans would dare to open it was another question entirely. What comes next, and why it matters? The Terracotta Army had already shaken the world with revelations from the AI scans. Experts now knew there were details, irregularities, and even hidden structures beneath the site. But these findings raised a much bigger question. What happens next? Should humans dig deeper, open sealed chambers, and risk disturbing what had remained untouched for 2,000 years? Or should the secret stay buried, preserved for the future? The debate was immediate. On one side stood those who believed the time had come to explore further. They argued that technology had advanced enough to allow careful excavation. With precision tools, environmental controls, and new scanning methods, archaeologists could recover objects without destroying them. Supporters of this view said that waiting any longer risked losing priceless information. Underground chambers might be collapsing slowly, chemicals might be eating away artifacts, and moisture might be causing damage. On the other side were those who urged caution. The Terracotta Army itself had taught an important lesson. In earlier decades, when soldiers were unearthed without protection, their painted surfaces faded and peeled within hours. Precious colors that had survived for centuries vanished almost overnight. For many, this was a warning. Opening sealed chambers might destroy what they were meant to protect. Ancient texts spoke of rivers of mercury surrounding the emperor's tomb. If those rivers still existed, they could be dangerous both to people and to the environment. Some experts argued that leaving the tomb sealed was the only way to respect the emperor's vision and preserve the site for future generations with even better technology. But still, there's the thought of nature erasing the past before we can even see it. Beyond archaeology, the debate spread to the global stage. The Terracotta Army was not just a Chinese treasure. It belonged to the world's heritage. Governments, museums, and cultural organizations weighed in. Some pushed for international collaboration, suggesting that the exploration should not be rushed by any single group. Others felt strongly that the decision rested solely with China, since the army lay in its soil and was built by its ancestors.
The work is set to unveil yet more of the world-famous terracotta statues buried more than 2,000 years to guard the mausoleum of China's first emperor.
Public interest was massive. News of the discoveries spread quickly, and millions of people began to imagine what might be waiting underground. Could there be weapons of incredible craftsmanship? Could maps or documents from the Qin dynasty still survive? Or could there even be objects that defy explanation? The excitement created pressure on archaeologists to act. Tourists visiting the site asked guides whether the tomb would be opened. Social media was filled with theories and calls for answers. But the risks were equally clear. Any move to open new areas would require massive resources. The underground chambers could collapse if handled poorly. Air exposure could ruin fragile items. Even with modern technology, controlling humidity, temperature, and chemical reactions would be a challenge. Archaeologists remembered how much had been lost during earlier excavations and did not want history to repeat itself. There was also the question of ethics. Should the resting place of the first emperor be disturbed at all? Some scholars reminded the public that this was not just an archaeological site. It was a tomb. It held spiritual and cultural meaning. Opening it could be seen as a violation, no matter how careful the process. Others argued that the emperor himself had built this underground world to showcase his power, and unveiling it would simply fulfill that purpose in a new age. Meanwhile, the technology itself began to change archaeology. Researchers realized that they no longer needed to rely only on digging. AI could map underground sites, analyze chemical traces, and even simulate reconstructions of lost worlds. The Terracotta Army project became a model for future explorations around the globe. From pyramids in Egypt to burial mounds in Central America, archaeologists now asked if hidden truths can be found without shoveling any dirt. This marked a turning point. Archaeology was no longer just about excavation. It became a balance between technology and preservation, between curiosity and caution. The Terracotta Army was at the center of this transformation, forcing the world to rethink how the past should be studied. The soldiers may have been made for the afterlife, but in recent times, they have become a lesson for the living. In China, discussions continued about the future of the site. Some proposed building new laboratories underground to stabilize conditions before opening chambers. Others suggested that only partial digs should be attempted, leaving most of the tomb untouched. A few voices even said the tomb should remain sealed forever, serving as a reminder that not all mysteries must be solved. What everyone agreed on was that the Terracotta Army had changed history once again. It was no longer just about clay soldiers. It was about the future of archaeology, the relationship between humans and technology, and the way the world treats its oldest treasures. As one archaeologist put it, the Terracotta Army has always been about power. In the emperor's time, it showed the power of a ruler. Today, it shows the power of knowledge and the choices we make with it. What comes next is uncertain. Maybe archaeologists will take the bold step of opening the hidden chambers. Maybe they will wait, letting time pass until new tools are invented. Or maybe the emperor will continue to rest in his sealed world, guarded by thousands of clay warriors, while humans stand above, wondering what lies beneath. What is certain is why it matters. The Terracotta Army is not just about the past, it is about the future. How we choose to respect history, and how we balance curiosity with care while gaining knowledge.